resources, inspiring interviews, business practices, and practical advice to take your art career to the next level. Join Sergio Gomez in today's Artist Next Level and get ready to take control of your career.
Well, hello, my friend. Welcome to the Artist Next Level podcast. I am very happy to be here with you once again. Hey, I have an awesome interview today that I want to share with you with artist Huff. He's going to talk about how art literally saved his life. Super amazing story. You don't want to miss it. And before I do that, my friend, I also want to remind you, in case you haven't done so yet, there's a brand new resource that I put out just a couple of weeks ago. It's called the Art Sales Toolkit. All you have to do to get it, and it's totally free by the way, is go to www.theartistnextlevel.com/sales. In this toolkit, what I do is I created 2 videos showing you the frameworks on how to find art collectors and also how to sell art. These are 2 frameworks that I've been using myself very successfully, and I have also shared them and been teaching artists, hundreds of artists, for the last couple of years on how to do the same. So I made them totally easy to find. Again, just go to www.theartistnextlevel.com/sales, sign up, and you have immediate access to the video training. Let me know how you like it, by the way. We'd love to hear from you. Well, my friend, again, I have an awesome interview with Bo today to share with you. Bo is a professionally trained jeweler. He owned a family jewelry business with his brother for 15 years. During this time, his wife was diagnosed with cancer. She passed away after a 4-year struggle. And after her death, Bo closed the jewelry business and ran away altogether. He found it very difficult to be creative, but it was during this period of time that he was also diagnosed with Bipolar 1. Bo began to experiment with painting and found it very therapeutic. Being bipolar accentuated his creativity. He battled with whether he should separate his art from his mental illness, but it was simply impossible. So now when showing his art, mental illness always comes into the conversation. And today in this podcast, you're going to hear his entire story on how art saved his life. So let's welcome into the show, Huff. Hi, Bo. How are you today, my friend?
I'm great, Sergio. How you doing?
I am doing good. Now let me ask you, are you ready to take us to the next level?
I definitely am ready to take it to the next level.
Awesome. Well, super happy to be here. You are joining us all the way from Texas. We're here in Chicago, and we're going to have a great conversation sharing with our friends pretty much this cool story of how, art saved your life, which, it's so interesting. I can't wait to hear it myself too, also for the first time. And you are an artist who we met through the Art Next Level Academy, and the more I got to know you through the Academy and through the things you're sharing and so on. You are super active. You are not afraid to try and test and do things. And it's great to see the progress that you have done. And then I remember, clearly as in one of your posts, you talk a little bit about how art saved your life. And I'm like, wow, this will be a great story to share with more people, to bring here to the Art Next Level podcast and help our friends get inspired by your story. So how's that for a conversation?
It should be good.
It should be good. So before we talk a little bit about that story, tell us a little bit about where do you live right now? Where's your studio at? Where are you at?
My main studio is in Whitesboro, Texas. It's about 70 miles north of Dallas. Mm-hmm. I've been working out of that studio for about 10 years.
Okay.
And in the process of taking my art to the next level, mm-hmm. My girlfriend lives in Houston.
Okay.
And I wanted to try, I'd really like to get into the corporate, bigger pieces. Mm-hmm. And I thought Houston would be a good place to start trying that. So I'm working out of Houston as well.
Awesome. Very cool. So you're expanding pretty much, which it's great to hear.
Thank you.
So, but tell us a little bit also about, how you describe your art for our friends. Of course, it's a podcast, so we cannot see your work, but how kind of friends kind of hear a little bit about what inspires you in your work, and how would you describe it?
I would describe it as experimentation. I do have some certain styles, a certain series that I do.
Yeah.
When I first started, which I'll get into a little bit more about the bipolar situation in a bit, but when I was having hard times, I would sketch.
Okay.
And now I've always, thought, as long as the viewer of the art has an emotion, I'm happy.
Okay.
And so at first, a lot of my artwork was not something that you'd look at and think, oh gosh, that's pretty, but it would definitely strike a chord. But from then, I've experimented and tried different techniques, and I've gone more into the abstract.
Okay.
One thing that I do is I like to work with a palette knife, and I'll have a main canvas that I'll work on, and then I'll have another canvas next to me that I'll clean my knife off on.
Okay.
And so I'll work on the main piece and then clean my knife off.
Yeah.
And what I like to try to do at the end when I have the second canvas totally covered up, is look into that canvas and see what I can see.
Right.
And 9 times out of 10, it's a face. I don't know why, but it's a face. I'll see an eye. I'll see a bridge of a nose, and then I'll take as little paint as I can, and then bring out that image.
Okay. Very cool. So so it's kind of you're making pretty much two for one.
Yeah.
2 works in one sitting, which for me, it has happened sometimes where, again, just like you said, I'm working on something. I don't use the palette knife, but however, I have like little scraps always on the side for leftover paint or, too much paint on my brush. So I clean it up. And sometimes, as I look at that little scrap, like, wow, that looks really nice. Maybe it's coming out better than the one that I'm working on.
Exactly. A lot of times I'll sell the second canvas way before I sell the first one.
That's right. Yeah, that is pretty awesome, man. And you've been doing really well also with your social media, sharing your work, sharing what you do. And that's kind of how we met, because you came to the Next Level Academy. I think we were doing the challenge. Is that what we were doing? Or we were working on our social media? Which one? I can't remember exactly which.
Yeah,
which of the challenges.
I was mainly focusing on learning the social media. Yes. About 6 months ago, I decided, okay, it's time for me to totally dive into this.
Yes.
And so I found you on Instagram, and I tried to do the challenge, but I had some personal things come up and couldn't do it.
Yeah.
But I sure have learned a lot about how to use Instagram. And I appreciate all the lessons that I've learned from you.
Awesome. Yeah. Because we have a Instagram social media skills for artists course, and that's exactly the one you're working on, and you did pretty good. I remember, there's one particular post that I love, and I often, when I talk about social media, it reminds me of you, where you said in the post you put yourself right next to the artwork, and you say, when I started to put myself next to the artwork, all of a sudden, started to get more interest. You started to selling some of the pieces where you are standing right by it, right?
Yes.
And that is pretty awesome, because what that does, it brings the personality, the artist, that people connect with the artist himself or herself. So that's a great way of connecting.
Yes, it has really worked. It's worked well.
That's awesome. All right, Bo. So let's talk a little bit about your story. Let's dive into how art saved your life. So take us there at any point that you want to start in your life, and how it led you to where you're at now.
Okay. I'm going to go back a ways, and I'm going to talk about some things that are very hard for me to talk about, but I truly feel if I don't mention those things, I'm really not doing everybody justice. I feel like there is a lot of artists out there that, I know there's a lot of artists out there that are bipolar or have a mental disorder. And these people, like me, they will not share with just anybody their issues and their problems. They want, they want to talk to somebody else who gets it. So I'm going to start off when I had my jewelry store. Now, I had suffered with depression, and I did have some suicidal thoughts, and at the time, I was doing custom jewelry and had a good following. And my wife got cancer.
Okay.
And so she had breast cancer. And I would leave my store for 1 week out of every month to go to MD Anderson in Houston. And at first they said she had 6 months to live, but she lived 4 years. And,
wow.
and that was an awesome thing. But when she did pass, I pretty much closed the store and ran away. So I went and worked in Dallas and started having some more issues and got diagnosed with bipolar disorder. So then it was like, one of the things that this is one of those things I hate to tell, but I got to. It's something I didn't know why I did it. It's not something I learned, but when I would start to get, let's be honest, a little psychotic, something I would do was self-harm. I would cut myself, and unfortunately, it worked. The psychosis would go away and I'd be focused on fixing myself. So I did that for a bit, and then I started seeing other people doing it. I was like, hey, you don't need to do that. So I decided I better not do that either. And
right.
So during the process, I went through the suffering to deciding to learn what my disability was, what bipolar was, and what it was to me, and how I could help myself, and then from there teaching others how to do the same thing. There's something I say, which is you got to learn to change the channel. A lot of times with bipolar and other mental health issues, there's no pulling yourself up by your bootstraps to speak of, especially with depression. And I had decided that, okay, I'm going to back up just a step to bring this right. I was taking a medication that was a heavy dose of antipsychotics. And what they didn't tell me was that if you're on a high dose of antipsychotics for 10 years, you have a high percentage of getting a disorder called tardive dyskinesia. And what that is uncontrollable movements. A lot of people get it in their face. I had it in my legs, and it was like restless legs all day.
Oh, wow.
And stomping my feet, having to pace. And I talked to my doctor, and I was like, what is this? And he told me what it was. So we lowered my dose, and it never went away. And I told him, I said, Doc, I'm not going to live with this. I said, I'm not going to do this. I said, it's not worth it. So, and it's a permanent thing. But for me, thank goodness, they put me on a Parkinson's disease medication.
Okay.
And it worked.
Wow.
It worked. So this medication that I thought I had to be on because I was bipolar, and I just, I had to be on it, I was now off of. And the other thing that did was it brought my creativity back. This, a lot of those medications, a lot of artists especially, they're like, I don't want to be on it because my creativity goes away. And you really have to dig deep to get to your creativity, but you can get there. And the thing that I learned was, okay, when I start to have these negative thoughts, I got to catch it early. I truly believe that if you can catch these suicidal thoughts or negative thoughts early, I call it, you got to change the channel. You got to, when you feel it coming on, you got to change the channel. And I've learned how to do that. And I'm not perfect. I can't do it every time, but it's something that I've been able to help others with and share with, and it resonates with them. And that kind of brings me into the point of art. And
before you get there, Bo, so at this point, like how many months or years have passed since
Probably 5 or 6.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. I pretty much, ran away, and I ended up pretty much having to move back home with my parents.
Okay.
I was in a bad place. I didn't leave my house I say I didn't leave. I went to the convenience store, but I pretty much stayed at home for 3 years.
Wow.
And during that time, a really good friend of the family told my dad, a guy named Scotty, he told my dad, you're going to have to build him a studio or something. He's got to have a purpose. He's got to have a purpose.
Right, right.
So I started going out and painting. Now, I had no clue what I was doing. And so I just experimented, and I did not show anybody for 3 years any of my work.
So did you already have like art supplies, or like something like said, you woke up and like, I'm going to go get supplies and start working, or, what was like some of those first steps?
It was, I had to go out and buy it. And I found things to paint on at first.
Okay.
At first, discarded planks of wood, not planks, but, panel. I'd find something, and I went and bought some paints. I went, luckily, I had really good parents, and they bought me some paints.
Okay.
And I went out and began experimenting.
That's awesome.
And so ended up, I was doing pretty good. And then showed some people, and they're like, you need to show this. You need to get this out there. So that was the beginning of me getting out.
Wow.
So for me, whenever I would start to have those bad thoughts, for me to change the channel in my mind, I would go out and pick up a paintbrush. And that would distract me. It's all about distraction and changing the thought process. Some people you might turn the TV on and let it think for you. But for me, it was go outside to the studio my parents had built for me. I did jewelry in it at first, but I really got to where I just didn't like doing it.
Okay.
So I've gone from, over the past 10 years, from painting and showing no one and not leaving the house to having art shows. It's really brought my confidence back, because I went from Bo the custom jeweler to, in my mind, Bo the crazy guy up the street. I'd lost my identity. I totally lost my identity. And now I'm Bo the artist, and that's kind of nice.
That's exciting, man. That's very cool. So tell me also, as you began to make the art and then, keep it in your home or your studio, like maybe some of those first times that you started to showing it in the public, maybe what was going through your mind? What was some of the feedback you were getting? Tell me a little bit about that process too, kind of transitioning from, okay, this is just something that I'm doing, to like, as you mentioned, switch the channel, but now to begin like, wait a minute, there's people are beginning to accept it, enjoy it, buy it, and things like that. Tell me a little bit of that transition.
Okay. My wife, who passed away, her sister-in-law is an artist. Her name's Jean.
Okay.
And she has a nonprofit called Ghost Town Art Collective.
Okay.
And I got in touch with her. And she's been really good to me. And so it started off by taking a few pieces up to there to whenever she'd have an art show, she'd let me know.
Okay.
And so first I started doing that. And I sold a few pieces. And then I was asked to be part of a group, an art and coffee group in a local town called Sherman.
Okay.
And so, of course, it was hard. It was hard to get out, to go to a room where I knew no one.
Right.
And here I am, and everybody else in the art group has an art degree. They're professors. They're everybody. Right. And but they totally accepted me in, and they had shows that were coming up with a theme. So I started working on, doing shows with those themes, and it did really well. And so, like right now, I'm doing a show in Sherman through the Ghost Town Art Collective, and my series is Hidden Faces. So I have about 20 pieces in there.
Very cool.
And one of them in particular, it's one of those things that's like I got done and I was like, how did I do that? How did that happen? So they asked me to if they could put that painting on the cover of their magazine, and do it an interview with me. And of course, exciting. It went straight into the mental illness and my life story, and they're like, this is fantastic, and it's coming out next month.
Oh, that's awesome. That's really cool. And I'm looking forward to see that. Make sure to share it in the Instagram and Facebook and everywhere else.
I definitely will.
So how many years it's been now since that journey, since like you started kind of like going at it and till now?
With a purpose, I'd say slowly 6 years, seriously for 3.
Okay.
Now, I've been doing it for 10, but it's been a process. It's been a
process. Exactly, yeah.
And doing it pretty serious for 3 or 4 years. I was part of a co-op that I did really well in. Unfortunately, ended up closing. But now I'm ready to take it to the next level. I'm learning the things, and my work is getting better. Like I said, I'm doing more abstract, and it's a lot of experimentation. Sometimes it doesn't work, but thank goodness you can kind of repaint it. The last 8 months, I've made it a purpose to paint every day.
Wonderful.
And I say every day, 5 days a week.
Yeah.
Sometimes a painting may take me a week. Sometimes it may take me 3 hours. You never know. And but by putting that work ethic in has made a huge difference, and it has also helped me with my mental stability. Something else I want to mention.
Yeah. Go ahead.
When I do my hashtags, I do my art hashtags. It's so important to me to be able to share and help other people who have suffered with the same thing I do. I also hashtag mental health awareness, bipolar artist, and I talk almost every day with an artist who is going through the same things I have, and I'm able, and mainly just to listen.
Wow.
So that was.
So let's talk a little bit about that, because that's that opened up just a whole other world for you, right? So, I love to how you have been painting here in words, your story, your transition, and then you encounter social media, and that opened up a whole new world for you. And now through that, as you mentioned, using your hashtags, leveraging how Instagram and algorithms work to connect with other people. Tell me about that too. That now where you're at now, where you are able to now also be an agent of change for other artists who maybe be like you at the very early stages, right? And now they see in you this light of hope because you were able to overcome this, and you're you continue to work at it. And none of us are perfect. We all have our struggles, but you, as you have shared your struggle in a more public setting, through your sharing your story like you're doing here, or the magazine, or through your post, tell me about that, those connections that you have made with people who maybe you will never really see face to face, but through social media you are connecting with them. So tell me, how does that, what does that do for you in terms of encouraging you to continue on the path?
Oh, it totally lets me know I'm doing the right thing. Because I really struggled a little bit with whether I was going to get out there and just be totally open, because there's people do have stigma about mental illness, but this year's little saying for mental illness is there is no shame. There is no shame in mental illness. So I've been able to meet with people, they're artists, and actually sold work to these artists, which is great.
Artist supporting artists, that's always the best.
Oh yeah, it's great. And by putting those hashtags on there, I for instance, yesterday, an artist friend, I say friend, it's through Instagram.
Yeah.
A friend of mine out of Florida, she just needed to talk for a minute. She just needed, hey, Bo, this is kind of what's going on,
Right.
And, and she wasn't looking to me for an answer. She just knew she could tell me.
Right.
I was somebody out there putting myself open, here I am, take me as I am. And so as somebody with bipolar, she knew that she could comfortably talk to me about being bipolar. And then we go into art strategies and what we're doing and then get into the art end of it.
Right. That's awesome. And, and I think that's beautiful how you're sharing this, because social media, yes, it could be a distraction at times, but it is so much value in that we can create those connections, that we can inspire each other, we can support each other, and also I think provides almost an accountability system for us as well. Some days I wake up and it's like, oh, I don't really feel like doing my breakfast show or my podcast and so on, but there's somebody waiting out there, right? There's somebody who maybe whatever we're going to share today is going to make a difference in some way. Maybe I will never met that person, but if I'm lazy today and I said, I'm not going to do it, then, I'm depriving myself from those amazing things that can happen, that oftentimes are beyond our control, but they're out there. And it's just beautiful when we can wake up in the morning and say, well, maybe there's a little something I can contribute today to the world. And that is great.
That's so true. And something that's, also been really good is the fact that I am, to an extent, I am becoming successful. And like I said, I plan on taking it to the next level. I'm going to just get more successful.
Absolutely.
And so my friends that have, struggles, they see that I'm doing it. They can do it too.
Exactly. Totally. So, but what would you say to an artist who may be listening right now to this podcast and maybe going through, some of their own problems, their own issues, a lot of times, mental health issues as well, and they're just having a hard time picking it up. What kind of a piece of advice would you give them?
Number one, take your meds. If you truly have a diagnosed disorder, take your meds. There's so many people, I'm one of them. Oh, I feel great. Stop taking the meds. 2 months later, they're down. The other thing is be persistent. You're worth it. You are worth it. I don't care what anybody else says. You're not the crazy guy up the street. You're you. And get out there and experiment and practice. If I can become a success, anybody can become a success. You just got to work it. And you got to take the time to put the hours in the studio. Go to shows, be around other artists, and as I'm learning, work your social media. Just you're worth it, and you can do it. Give it your best shot.
Awesome. That is wonderful advice, Bo. And thank you so much for sharing that, because you definitely, what you're talking about there. And, you never know when this podcast will, land in the right person's ears, right? It could even be years from now, as people go back and listen to all the episodes. And that is great, timeless advice shared by you. My friend, I would love to also, if you can share with us maybe something that you're excited about right now, maybe any things that you're looking forward this year, events or shows or work that you're doing. Tell us a little bit about what's coming up for you.
Well, something that I'm doing on March the 14th in Whitesboro, Texas.
Mm-hmm.
This is something I've never done. I've had shows at my studio, but I've never discounted my work.
Okay.
So what I'm doing is I'm having an art sale and party.
Okay.
And I've got a lot of collectors in the Dallas area, and of course a whole lot of people in my hometown that have been collecting, my work and always give me good support. So I've run out of room.
Yeah.
I mean, like I said, I've been working every day, and so what I need to do is move some work. So I'm going to actually have a 50% off sale.
Wow. Mm-hmm.
I'm doing it because my work is getting bigger.
Yeah.
And I need a place for it, and I wanted to give a chance to for all the people who have supported me. Mm-hmm. Give them a chance to get a piece of artwork for less than I'd like to sell it for.
That's awesome. Well, so for other friends who are listening and who want to jump into this, when is it? Can you repeat when is the date? And also tell us where can our friends find you on Instagram, because I'm sure after this episode, some of our friends would like to touch base with you on Instagram, follow you there.
Please.
So,
please. Yeah. I'm at Bo Huff Studios.
Okay. Huff, right?
Yeah. BOHUFF Studios. And the event is March the 14th. I'm doing it from 3 to 7, which really is 3 to whenever. So I just asked, anybody and everybody. I'm getting ready after this to pack it. I've got everything packed up. I'm going to leave Houston, go back to Whitesboro and start handing out flyers.
Awesome.
Postcards and those kind of things, which I've learned from you.
Awesome. Very cool. Well, Bo, you have been awesome in this conversation. Thank you so much for coming here and sharing your story with our friends here, for telling us a little bit about, your struggles in life, how you have overcome it, and how art, as you said, art saved your life. And that's what a beautiful way to put it. I think that's the title I'm going to use for the podcast today, because it is so true. And the amazing thing is that, there are many other artists whose, have similar stories, whose art has saved their lives in many ways. So, one more piece on the link on this beautiful story that we call art. So that is wonderful. We want to wish you great success in your next event, also in everything that you're doing. Like you said, keep taking it to the next level. We really enjoy seeing you in the academy, and everything that you're doing is just great. It's awesome. Looking forward to give you support on this new event too, so that you can make it awesome and amazing. And my friend, any last words that you would like to share before we wrap it up for today?
Well, I would like to thank you and your wife for you. I don't know how you do it. you put so much time in. I would really like to thank y'all for teaching me how to take my art to the next level. It works. If you're not a member of the Art Next Level Academy, become a member. It's worth it. If you have a mental illness and you're struggling, you're worth it. Change that channel. If you have those negative thoughts come in, catch them early, change that channel. Go out and grab a paintbrush and just begin to do things that'll make you healthy.
That's awesome. Thank you so much for that, Bo, also for your encouragement and for the words that you have shared with us. And to all our friends who are listening today, please do us a big favor. Bo and I will be so happy if you share this episode with your friends. Send it to somebody, put it on your Instagram stories or your Facebook stories or posts and so on. Share it with as many artists as you can, so that we can continue, sharing both stories, and it can continue inspiring other artists. And that would be awesome. So thank you, Bo, again for your time. I know you have a busy schedule. You are getting ready for the big move and all the things that you're doing. I continue following you on social media, and I love seeing what you do. And great success for you, my friend. I hope that 2020 is your best year ever. So
thank you, and I believe it will be.
Absolutely. Well, thanks, our friends. Thank you for being here with us, and I will see you at the next level.
Check out our website at www.theartistnextlevel.com, where you will find our podcast library, learn about our upcoming webinars, find resources relevant to your career, and much more. Thanks for listening to today's podcast, and we'll see you at the next level.